So in today's video, we're gonna discuss on about the service request. So what are the pre-configured setup which we need to do with respect to the service request? So we would be talking about those. So first of all, let's walk you through the service request creation page. How basically the basic request page will look like, and what are the details which we need to enter into the creation form. So basically, for every service request, the title of the request is mandatory. It's called something like a record name for it in this particular. Yeah, so it's a title is something like a record name. So basically, the title we will be entering something like the issue description, short summary of the issue. So that's about the title field in the service request. And next coming to the account, so for which customer this particular issue has been raised, so we'll be selecting that particular customer in the account. And the primary contact basically be an account related contact or someone other than the account also we will be able to select. Basically primary contact is mandatory at the service request. So once we select the primary contact, based on that the account will be auto populated. Okay, and here comes the severity. So severity, again we know that, so severity is something like the priority of the SR. So how much priority we need to give, whether it's a high priority, low priority, or medium. So here we'll be seeing basically these three values, so defines the severity of the service request. So and the criticality, so whether it's more critical or not. So if we enable this, so it means that the service request is more critical for the customer. And in order to an SR is something like is raised when an issue comes for the customer, right? So in that particular case, we will the category in which this particular issue will fall under. So these category values, again, like here some default values are showing up, but these again we can customize and show as per the requirement for the customer. So I will walk you through, once this been done, I will walk you through all the pre-configured setup where we will be setting up the category, status values, and all these things. Okay, and the product. Basically, once customer purchases a product, and if he has any issues with respect to the that particular product or something like that, so he will be raising an SR with us, right? So we'll be selecting for which product this SR has been raised for. So here this tells us the product. So in this product, so we need to have the service catalog enabled in our application. So whatever the products which are added under the service catalog, only those products can be selected under this product field over here. It's not like all the sales product will come here. So sales is separate catalog and service is separate catalog. Okay, so what are the products which are having, if you guys understand, when we are creating a product in the Fusion application, we have to check boxes something like eligible for sell and eligible for service. Okay, any product we want to show it under the service request products field over here. The product needs to be eligible for service, and the product needs to be added under the service catalog. So this we can discuss later on in the coming sessions. Okay, so and the queue is nothing but basically, so they will be a group of service people or the technicians who will be in the form of groups. Okay, group is nothing but two or three technicians will group, and two or three will come under the other group. So based on the problem description or the issue related, so we will be selecting the specific queue over here in the service request. Okay, and here comes the assign to. Assign to is nothing but who is like we will be having owner, right, for the opportunities or accounts. So whereas coming to the service request, we will be having assigned to as a selection. Assigned to is nothing but, so the technician for whom this service request will belongs to, he is owning the service request in terms of. Okay, and the channel type. Basically, we might be receiving a service request, either it might be from a call, either it might be a browser, chat, or any way of communication. Customer can reach out to us so that we can raise this particular service request, right? So type from which customer has contacted to us, so that's known as the channel type over here. Okay, and here the attachments, anything needs to be there, that needs to be added out over here. Okay, so like before proceeding further, I will walk you through the setup which we need to do. Okay, so for the setup, again we need to go to the setup and maintenance. So under here in the common setup, like we need to be selecting the service. Need to be selecting the service. So if you notice, like these are the different common setups and to service request which we need to enable. And here I'm going to the service request. So in the setups also, few are the mandatory things which we need to configure, and few are the optionals. Okay, so under service request, so this is something which we need to focus on, and the remaining, if we select all tasks over here, so these are the few other tasks which we're gonna discuss now. Okay, so the primary one is required tasks. So we'll talk about that first. So if I click over here, these are the different profile options for the service request setup. Okay, so let's talk about yeah. We'll come from the bottom. So this is something with respect to the resolved days. Yeah, maximum. So this particular uh, option describes the maximum number of days an SR can be in the resolved status. Okay, so so let's read about the description over here. So maximum days SR can be in resolved status. After these many days, SR type will be changed to closed. So again, one more thing I would like to talk about here is basically, so in the UI for a status field, we won't be seeing something like a closed status in the UI. Closed is something which is defined by the system, and based on this particular profile option, if we mark the service request as resolved is nothing but we have solved the particular issue. Okay, if we mark the status as resolved today, after 30 days in the system, by default, the status of the SR will change from resolved to closed. So this will define that. If we give 20 days, once the resolved status is done today, so after today plus 20 days, after today plus 20 days, the status will be resolved. So this value we can change as per the requirement. So this is about the resolved status. And here, yeah. So it's like it's about the deleted days. So let's read the description. So the number of days SR has been soft deleted before it will be purged from the database must be set to 1 or greater in order for the job to run. So here, so they are talking about the soft delete before it will be purged from the database. What is mean by soft delete and what is mean by purge from the database? Soft delete is nothing but it won't it won't be I think it won't be visible in the database, but it won't be visible, sorry, it won't be visible in the UI. It might be existing in the database with some status or some attribute getting changed. But purged is nothing but purge from the database is nothing but it will be completely deleted from the database. Nowhere again we can get the particular record as a backup. The backup is also get vanished from the database. That is nothing but the purge. Basically, whatever the records we delete, whatever the service requests which we delete, after these many days, those will be completely removed or deleted from the database. So it's basically the default value is 30. So if I delete a service request today from the UI, it will be soft deleted after 30 deleted from the database. That's what about this particular profile option is. Okay. So like that, so here if we see this particular thing over here, this one tells the what would be the default status. If you notice now, so once I click on create service request button over there in the UI, so the default status of the service request is new. So this profile option tells what should be the default status value. So okay, so it will be escalate, in progress, new, something like that. And default severity. So we can change all these profile values based on the requirement. So we can keep the once a new SR has been created, the severity of SR to be high or medium based on the customer requirement. We can change all this particular profile option accordingly. Okay. And here with respect to PUID format and resolve state closed status codes. Okay. And all these assigned to a queue on create. So if we have a queues defined, automatically once an SR being created, by default, whatever the queue which we selected in this particular profile option will be set as a default queue for the SR. No, sorry. Whatever. So once a service request been created, automatically queue assignment will be ran on that particular service request. So based on the rules which we define in the queue, that particular queue will be assigned. So whether queue needs to be assigned on the service request once created or not, so we will be setting up based on this particular profile option. Here, once a service request is being created, no need of any additional clicks from the user side. Automatically queue assignment will run on the service request and respective queue will be getting assigned to the SR. Yeah. So actually, I missed discussing about this particular profile option over here. The PUID format, basically. So we know the for every SR we get that gets created in the system. So there will be some number which will be reference number that gets generated once an SR been created, right? So that in with respect to service request, that would be the service request reference number, SR number. Okay. So the format of the SR is something like followed by this particular format mentioned over here. So okay, so this is defines the service request document sequence, like something like SR number sequence, something like that. Okay, so and close this been talked about, and now coming to over here, waiting days. Yeah. So maximum days an SR can be in waiting status. After these many days, SR type will be changed to resolved. So if for example, if I kept the SR in waiting status today, so this profile option based on this particular profile option value, which is been there as 30 days. After 30 days from today, this particular SR will, if it is still on waiting status after 30 days from today, then automatically the status of the SR will changes from, and based on the other profile option which we have talked just before now, so based on that, after 30 days from the resolve, the status will be closed. So this is what happening basically. if there is no progress, or something is not been done, or if the technician is forgot to update the status value, so this profile options automatically changes the status from one status, the value of status to one to the other. Okay, so based on this, I think default CRM calendar, no need to talk much about this. And coming back to the enable severity color, basically, so we have a severities like high, medium, low, right? So, so in order to enable the colors based on the severity value which is been there, our profile option defines whether we want to show the severities based on the color highlighted in the landing page or in the details page, something like that. So if we set as yes, so then color code highlights the service request. So based on that, we can know whether it's a high priority, yes, something like that. So enable audit. Audit is nothing but the tracking each and everything what's happening with respect to the particular record. So this will tell us about that. Okay. And the last profile option over here is like SR action for purged contacts. If a contact has been purged, basically what happens to the respective service request in the system. So by default, there will be nothing gonna happen with respect to the service request for the respective contact. But if at the service request level also, if contact been purged, then we have list of actions that needs to be taken over here. We can select the respective one. Okay. Yeah. So and this is about the different profile options within the service request which we can uh, like configure. So like here there are other of the other tasks which we can configure for the service request, like manage service request severities. So if I go to this particular task, so here we can configure like if any additional severity that's been there based on the business requirement. So they're not gonna use a high, the naming convention need to be changed. It's not like low, medium, high. It should be like less, something like that. So we can always go to this particular task and change the display labels or something like that, add any new severity as per the business requirement, something like that. We can do it over here. Okay. So as yeah, so it's been something like a lookup code and severity ranking. So here this color code is there, right, for each and every severity. So there is a severity color code profile option which been enabled. So based on the color code which is being given for the respective severity will be displayed if the profile option been enabled over there. Okay, so these are the three seeded things came by default. So if we want, we can always have a new custom severity value which been added from this particular task. So, and here's the channel type, manage service request channel types. So, as we seen from where we received the SR, whether it's something like that. So, this particular task will track about the list of channel types which can be shown up in the service request. Okay, so this is about that. So, and manage service request sources basically. Uh, So sources is nothing but it's for the internal tracking purpose. So service request can be created manually by the agent in the application, or service request can be created from the web service call. Service request can be also created from the VBCS or DCS. So these many sources are there, right? Such type of sources can be added over here. Okay. manage service request resolutions. Okay, so this is about let me navigate to the particular task. Once the SR status being gets changed from waiting to resolved or something like that. So what are the resolutions which we have provided for the respective SR? So these are something there, and again this particular thing can also be customized based on the requirement or the business of the customer. Okay, so and this we have already talked about in the required task and manage service request categories. So which category the service request will fall under. So we can always have our custom categories based on the business flow in this particular task. Okay. So these are about a few tasks with respect to the service request. Okay. Yeah. Now we let's navigate to this particular task and see what are the values which been provided by default. So basically here different with respect to other entities. The status types will be there. Under each type of the status, the respective status values will be there. Okay, if we are trying to add any custom status, we need to know that. So that particular status value will come under which type of the status basically. So if we would like to add some status value under in progress, so then we will be selecting these in progress and we will be clicking on create status. So under this particular in progress type, a new status value being created. Okay, something like that. So again, once it's been added over here, so we can activate uh, by the activate yes, it means that it will be shown in the UI. Okay, so but currently by default, so these are the respective types which will be there. Types we cannot add, but the values which we are able to see, closed we are seeing closed, under new we are seeing escalate and new. So these things we can always have flexibility to add. Okay, this is about statuses. And the next task is manage service request outcomes and resolutions. Um, so basically, this particular task will be something like what would be the outcome of the service request if we have resolved the service request. So what would be the outcome of it? So these outcomes and resolutions can be tracked over here. If the outcome will be like a customer abandoned and something like he can be able to select these resolutions legacy, and he can be able to select these resolutions over here. So these are the available resolutions within the application, but when the outcome is legacy, we are only displaying these resolutions in the UI. That's what it is. These are the outcomes and resolutions been there. So we can always add the additional outcomes and additional resolutions in this particular task. Yeah. So I will also would like to walk you through the categories task. So these are the different categories which are there. Basically, it's not something like different independent categories or something like that. So categories will be in the form of hierarchies over here. If we like something like if I collapse this particular thing and the list of categories under adult services and something like that, it will be. So and basically in which category the SR will fall under will be representing based on these values which are there in this particular task. Okay, so we can like we can add the categories, go to the new category setup and configure them and configure. Yeah, so here this is a, link for the task where we can create the custom categories. So this page is been not. Yeah. So here, here is a create category action over here under browse. So where we can create a top level category or the respective child level category. So like it means like here if I select adults, for adult services is basically a top level hierarchy. So for this, whether I can create another top level hierarchy or another child level hierarchy, so something like that. Or else if I select a respective category, we can edit it or we can delete the category from the list of drop down values in the service request UI. So these things we can configure from here. Yeah, so this is about many service request categories.